Soul Health with Nurse Blue. And guess what? I am Nurse Blue, and I am absolutely excited to be here with you tonight because I am about to bless somebody so much with this. Because I know that there are so many people who are out there in the world right now suffering from fear, right? And tonight, I want to help you get rid of your number one enemy because it was my number one enemy pretty much my entire life. And I am so thankful to tell you, I am so thankful to tell you that I have a beautiful solution for it. I have a beautiful solution for it, and it takes place, it's a 5-step solution. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about how we can defeat fear. I'm not here to teach you how to cope with fear. No, you see, let me grab a book real quick. You see this book here? This was my nursing book, right? You can see I studied it. I obviously passed the test. I am a nurse. And a lot of conditions in this book that I learned about are triggered by this thing called chronic stress. And at the root of chronic stress is fear, right? Now, a lot of people don't realize that there are people who die every single day from a preventable disease. People are suffering right now from something that was triggered by fear, and they are taking medications for it all the time. They don't want to be on medication, right? But the circumstances of their life have them feeling so crippled by this emotion that they don't know how to handle it. And I was there for many years. And when you don't know how to handle stress, when you're in an environment that we're in right now where there's a lot of tension in the air, all of that leads oftentimes to dis-ease in the soul. And it's going to manifest perhaps, or it can definitely, potentially, highly potentially, right? This very high, it will potentially manifest as a condition that could be a disease or lead to a disease. So, you know, I am the type of nurse where I much rather prevent you from getting a disease. Like, I believe in the whole idea of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? And so if fear is our enemy here, I'm going to share with you the 5 steps that I've learned throughout my entire life. I finally cracked the formula. I'm not here to help you manage it. I'm not here to help you cope with it. As I ask everyone, why would you want to cope with your killer? Because that's all we've been taught to do. Why do you want to manage your killer? Because that's all we've been taught to do. Why do you want to take a medication, depend on something outside of yourself to manage something that if you had a few more tools and knowing how to bring yourself back into a state of balance. If you had a few more tools that when fear showed up, you knew how to sit it back down and quite frankly, defeat it. Like, decide, I'm not negotiating with you. I'm not trying to learn how to live with you. You are trying to come against everything I'm trying to build, right? So for those of you that have been bullied by fear, I've been bullied by fear. And it actually, guys, quick story about myself. First of all, I'm Nurse Blue. I am now your nurse. If you've been listening to me this long, then you obviously like me. So go ahead, sweetheart, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up because I promise you I'm about to give you the 5 steps. But I think you need to know a little bit about myself. I'm just here to live up to my name. I am here to live up to my name, Blue. I am here to build you. I'm here to love you. I'm here to unite us and empower you about my favorite subject and yours now, because if you want to get rid of fear, this is how you do it. Soul health is how you get there. And most of us, I would say here in the United States, very few of us have been taught about the anatomy and physiology of the soul and how knowing and understanding how to manage your soul can really help you manage your number one, not manage your number one enemy, get rid of your number one enemy, defeat your number one enemy, which is fear. And we are living in a lot of high intensity stress. The stress levels are off the chart here in the United States, and probably, we're feeling it around the world because people, quite frankly, are dealing with so much fear. So if you're like, you know what, Nurse Blue, I need to hear this because you are, right now, you may have called your doctor today and need an appointment because, you know, you're feeling this increased anxiety, particularly here in the United States. Um, the current changes in the administration have people unnerved, have people feeling a lot of resistance within. It is impacting lives. Hell, I live in Orlando, Florida. I mean, we're known as the happiest place on planet Earth. Like 76 million of you guys decide to come down here and spend time with us, bringing all of that stress and this energy down here so we can get rid of it. Right? We're the vacation hub. And I absolutely love the fact that I live someplace in the world where we come to love you back to health, whether it's through going to, Disney World or Universal, or, making your way to any of the theme parks in Florida or any of our beaches, whether you want to, go up to Daytona or Cocoa or Smyrna Beach, or if you want to go over to Tampa. People find their way here in Florida because what we do is we take care of the soul by helping you release the fear, helping you release the tension, right? And I love that because that's what vacationing is all about. When you go on vacation, although if you go on with your kids and you are married, I highly suggest, if you can afford to do so, have a vacation with the family, have a vacation with yourself, as a couple, together as a couple. And if you are not in a situation where, if you're not in a relationship with anybody right now, I highly suggest that you put vacationing high on your list. Whether it's a staycation, I teach you how to do that on a budget, or if you can afford to indulge in a retreat experience. Those are ways that we get rid of fear. Okay, those are several ways that you can get rid of fear. Making sure that you prioritize soul health, and soul health is all about learning when to rest, so you do not end up in a situation where you're calling your doctor because your body is out of balance. Your autonomic nervous system, you're constantly in fight or flight. That's no way to live. That's no way to live. And that just means that fear has invaded your soul and your body is communicating to you, hey, I need you to do something about this. When your central nervous system, your autonomic nervous system is off, when you can't sleep at night, when you're constantly worried about what's going to happen in the future, it's not here. So now you got anxiety in your life, or the fear is right here and present, and you don't know what to do with it. And so you're trying to find ways to manage it. Some things are totally not good for you. Other things are just habits you adopted along the way, and they were working for a long time, but now they're not working anymore. And you are feeling uncomfortable and you're ready to get rid of this fear. And you're like, Nurse Blue, I'm ready. Is that you? Okay, let me get down to it. Let me share with you what you must do to defeat this kind of fear. This kind of fear is called compounded fear. This is fear that is being built up over time. And when I think about compounded fear, you can get a lot of compounded fear if you watch a lot of news talk, listen to a lot of news talk, to find out moment to moment what's going on with the new administration or what's going on in the world, right? You can certainly take in a lot of negative energy. And what that does is it increases a buildup of stress, a buildup of fear. Okay, stress and fear are the same thing. So one leads to the other, but they both the same thing. Okay, so when you hear me say fear, automatically think fear is there to stress you out. All right. Number two, the other thing you must be mindful of are the people who are in your life talking about all of this stuff. And naturally, the way our brains kind of work, sometimes we have a hard time finding the good things, because when stress takes over, then it's like a chemical that begins to kind of invade our thoughts. Stress and fear, that's an emotional state. It takes over our emotions. It starts to drain us of our energy, and you can easily get fixed and stuck in a negative, it's like it becomes like something that invades your airways. Like you don't even realize it. You just kind of find yourself, becoming addicted to this news that's stressing you out and that everybody's talking about. Not to mention everything else that's happening in your life, right? With your kids, if that's a part of your life, or your husband. So here's the bottom line: because it's layered, you have to take a layered approach on how to deal with it, right? So the first thing you must do in a climate where you're feeling dis-ease, in a climate where you can't sleep at night, most people, particularly high performing professionals, people who lead people, places, and things, a lot of times we use that energy and become a workaholic, which is not going to serve you right now, because you can only go so far with running on 100 miles per hour, working over and beyond your limits before the system is going to crash. So that is how that happens. Or we start doing things to distract us. Social media is a really great way to distract us, right? Because it numbs us out. So when you start feeling like this, first of all, I want you to understand you have to hook up. You got to hook up to the soul Wi-Fi system. Do you know your soul has a Wi-Fi, right? Okay, so it does. And this is the formula. That's the Wi-Fi. The formula for how you defeat it is you have to hook up to the Wi-Fi code, right? I call it the 5D, right? D meaning this is how you defeat it. So the first thing you have to do in the 5D, with the 5D Wi-Fi code, you have to learn how to deal with it, right? And you have to deal with it from a high vibration. We do not deal with our fear anymore by projecting it onto somebody else. Do not continue to make excuses for hurting people with your fear. And what I mean by that is, if you are a person that is quick-tempered and you got an anger habit and people got to walk on eggshells, you're projecting fear. That's unhealthy for them and it's unhealthy for you, okay? So what you say, how you say it matters. And if you see yourself slipping into those moments where you're misdirecting your fear, meaning you're hurting people in your environment, that could be people at work, people who you find to be beneath you, right? Or people who you don't hold in the same level of respect. That could be members of your family. That can be your children. That could be people who work for you. When we don't deal with our fears, we project. And what happens is we become unconscious of that projection. Why? Because it's being held in place by pride. And pride is an emotional state, which is also a fear state, because there's seven levels of fear. So we're going to be unpacking all of this. If you have not hit the subscribe button, I need you to hit the subscribe button, because honey, we are about to be freed of this thing. I am sick and tired of how much hold fear has on our on this collective. And I'm sick of it because it absolutely took everything from me. So I got rid of it. And so when I got rid of it, I realized I got everything now. All right. So I want you to have everything. And one of the most beautiful things that a life without fear will deliver, for those of you who are like, what is life without fear? It's called peace. Because the reason why so many people are having anxiety problems right now is because fear always has you thinking about the future, right? It hasn't showed up, but you already got a storyline behind it. It hasn't even showed up, but you have already created a movie in your head about what could happen. And what could happen is making you sick right now. We're not doing that. We're not doing that anymore. And what happens is when we have engaged in an oversaturation of having of too much media, having too much negative media in your life, and having conversations or being closely aligned with people in our personal space who are charged by that media, and you guys keeping it going, that adds to your anxiety. Okay? All right. So when it shows up, let's get to the 5D. This is how we tap in. Number one, you have to be willing to deal with it. Okay? So when you're willing to deal with it, what do I mean by that? Being willing to deal with it. The whole idea of dealing with fear requires you to surrender your ego. That is the identity that we build around navigating our fears, right? So sometimes we become a little bit more masculine in our approach. We become defensive about it. And usually pride, as you've heard me mention before, is the culprit. So the best way to deal with your ego is to move into a space of humility. And it takes humility to go inward and do the work to defeat fear. Okay. So when you're ready to deal with it, now you're in a position of humility, and now you have the strength, the posture to deal with fear. Because you can't deal with fear and pride. Can't deal with that, okay? Next, you have to be willing to divorce. So when I mean divorce it, once you see it, once you just say, oh, this is fear, once you see it, mentally, you can divorce it. Because fear attacks you through the various levels of your soul. So you have to separate yourself from it, from the various dimensions of your soul. So divorcing puts you in a mental position to do so, which means now your fear doesn't have authority over you no more. Now you can take authority over fear. You can only take authority over fear in a space of humility. And Christ taught us that. Okay? Christ taught us that in his walk. That's why when you think about fear, fear is a soul toxin. Fear is a soul toxin. So fear takes over the soul. So if it's a soul toxin, you have to heal it with soul technology. So, and it's in the Bible. You know, this book here, my nursing book didn't tell me anything about soul health. I don't think soul was mentioned one time in this book. Certainly not the anatomy and physiology of it. But if you don't deal with your fears, the medications are in this book, what to give you. Now that I can tell you when you don't know how to deal with it, right? But here in the book, you see this book here? This is the real blue book. Nurse Blue got a blue book. You see it's tattered, which means I use it. It's called a Bible, right? So in the blue book, in 1 John 4:18, it says, there is no fear in love. So that means that the only way you can get rid of fear is with love. It says, but perfect love cast out fear. So that's the disease. The disease starts in the soul, and then it manifests in the body. So how do you handle fear? You have to do it with perfect love. And that is what the 5D Wi-Fi code is all about. So let me give it to you, y'all. Okay, so first, deal. We already decided. You got to take a position of humility. Second, divorce. That's the next D, divorce, which means mentally you got to take authority over it, right? Fear can no longer have power. Demolish. Demolish means what do you do as a demolition crew? You got to be willing to break that thing down. Because fear is powerful, right? So you can't just do this on a mental level. You got to go into the soul toxin and pull that thing out. And you do that through my belly method, the 5-step belly method that's outlined in my book, Freedom is a Frequency. That's how you do it, right? So get my book. The belly method is in there. But essentially what it does is you have to go in and balance. You got to know what systems to balance through the belly. You got to know what systems to balance. You have to eliminate that toxin. You have to learn how to listen to your body. Many people have learned how to suppress their fears so much it's hard for them to feel anymore. That's why you have so many people out here who don't really know how to connect to compassion, how to connect to empathy. Because once you have been shut down in your heart not to feel, it's hard to feel. So now people are learning about this thing called emotional intelligence, when all it is for us to come back into understanding of how to heal again, or how, and if you grew up in an urban environment as I did, I'm from the south side of Chicago. One thing I know when I tell people about I'm from Chicago, the first thing that come up to them is the reputation of the city. Well, thanks to Spike Lee, it was named Chirac. And also beyond that, it was a movie about life in many ways that was lived in Chicago. Now, is that everybody's reality? No. But is it a reality? Did we become known for it? Yes, which means there's a lot of fear for people who live in Chicago or live in urban areas where there's a lot of instability for whatever reason it is, right? So, in order for us to start to live in a higher state of peace, we got to be willing to go in and demolish. You got to go in and demolish. And so the belly method, the balance, the eliminate the toxin, listen to your body, learn something new. So I teach you some new things you ain't never heard before, like fear. One of the ways that you can really help to get rid of fear is by high frequency music. I got the best music on the planet. I'm telling you, I have musical medicine and I got the best on the planet, and I know how to curate it in a way to get past any of your fears. That I do. That is one of the gifts that my dad gave me, and what I do in my healing practice. So for those of you who love music, sometimes the fear is located in your damn playlist. I don't care how great the beat is. If you have people that are that's playing music that is low vibration, meaning they fighting and they shooting and all. Listen, I bought it all. So I'm not judging you. This is stuff I had to learn, and I had a heavy attachment to music, right? And I grew up listening to that hip hop music. I grew up listening to all kinds of music, but a large part of my catalog I had to release because it has so many fear-based frequencies, right? So you got to learn to be willing to learn something new in this season about what works for you and what doesn't. And then why? You have to say yes to life. So that is the belly method that I created for you to demolish your fear. But getting back to the 4D. Next, after you demolish your fear, you have to be willing to delete it. Okay? You have to be willing to delete it. Well, after you acknowledge it and break it down, you delete it with a tool. And one of the greatest tools that I offer people, and what kind of makes me different from other coaches out here, is that yes, I am a nurse, and so I have my own nursing formula for how I deal with fear. And my nursing formula is through my favorite tool in the world, one of the most effective tools ever. And here now, in the time that we're living in, there is so much documented proof that sound healing is effective with calming the autonomic nervous system, with calming your central nervous system, with bringing stress relief. And I'm so thankful that that's my tool. So I use sound healing, and you can come and see me for free in the Soul Health and Wellness Club on Clubhouse. Y'all download the Clubhouse app. You got to download Clubhouse app. So listen. If you are rocking with me here in the Soul Health, here on the channel, Soul Health with Nurse Blue, you need to be a part of the club. They're free. It's a price that everybody can afford, okay? So I'm going to post the link, but you can go to soulhealthcommunity.com, okay? And once you go to soulhealthcommunity.com, everything is there. And what's most important, become a part of the free community. Make sound healing part of your healing toward, getting rid of your fear. Because after you get the tool of sound healing or the tool of whatever I might offer you, I have quite a few things in there within the club. Actually, you guys go to the online community. I have a calendar with events you can go to from week to week. Sound healing parties, that's the tool. The I Deserve Joy party, the self-love party, the soul massage I created, the unconditional soul massage. So go in there and see what's happening. And then I also have an online community, guys. Inside the online community, I also have a place where you can go and see all kinds of, the classroom has so many resources for you. For those of you who are living here in the United States and you're concerned about Project 2025, we have our own response to it. It's Soul Health Project 2025. We're not letting fear come for us. Fear is a man-made toxin that we do not have to have as close of a relationship with, and I let it bully me my entire life, guys. And we do not deserve to have to go through that. And how do you get rid of fear after you delete it? You have to detox it. And so I want to offer you, those of you who are suffering from fear, those of you who can, this makes sense to you, you're willing to deal, you're willing to activate the 5D Wi-Fi code that will free you from fear so you can defeat it. You have to defeat it in 5 steps. And you're ready now if you're ready to deal with your stress, if you're ready to divorce your stress, if you're ready to demolish your stress, if you're ready to delete it, and you're ready to detox it. And you're like, you know what? On the other side of that, you're ready for more joy. You're ready for more peace. You're ready to anchor yourself inside, not afraid of what our leaders are going to do, because the bottom line is your answer, your next steps have to come through a vibration of peace, because no one makes good decisions in fear. And if more of us were anchored in faith, if more of us were anchored in the highest vibrational frequency that it is said in the Bible, the healing book, perfect love cast out fear. That perfect love has to first come with you knowing that you have to deal with yourself in a state of humility. And that's when you pray for the answers. I have my nursing books, but the Bible is a book of life. And life is lifing right now. And fear is at an all-time high. And as a nurse, as a wellness coach, as somebody who just loves people, it is my responsibility to give you the prescription to help you get past our number one enemy, and one I have been battling my entire life. Look, this light that you see on me, I earned this light. I had to go in and do the hard work, forgiving people that did not deserve it, forgiving myself, healing from trauma after trauma after trauma, from fear projected in so many ways. Every time I decide to get on here, the amount of time that I have to go through to just talk myself into turning this camera on is because of being bullied by fear my entire life. And I finally have gotten to a point with this formula that I learned for almost 30 years of going through the various stages of releasing fear over and over and over again, going through cycles of pain, learning what Soul Health was all about, came with learning how to process fear from abusive situations over and over and over again. Not just from people, even the self-abuse of living with fear. Living with fear is internal abuse that you don't deserve. And so many people suffer from that internal abuse that they don't know what to do with, but would cope with through a habit of some kind, or playing small, or being bullied to a point where they feel unworthy. That they allow fear to just take their life away. They allow fear to burden them to a point where it runs up their blood pressure. That's the reason why their blood sugar is so high. That's the reason why they have the habits. The only thing that is calming them is something that they're eating. I was on that track. Or when they're smoking something, when they're drinking something, when they're taking something or need something outside of themselves to keep them from feeling the pain of being bullied by fear. I know what that's like. I know what that's like. And I'm so thankful that I'm in a position to help you, for those of you who don't want that anymore. So let me give you your resources. First and foremost, if you have not done this by now, but I'm sure by now you have, If you've been rocking with me, if this is connecting for you, please give me a thumbs up. Make sure you join the Soul Health and Wellness Club. That's the free community that I have, really to help people who are leading people, places, and things. I want to keep you in your thrive state. That's in your high state of vibration, feeling good. And the only thing that can take you out of your thrive state is fear. Period. That's the only thing that can take you out of it. So why give it that much power? Okay. So for those of you who are like, all right, I am ready to do what it takes to align with the 5D Wi-Fi code for the soul. And I'm ready to deal, I'm ready to divorce, I'm ready to demolish. I am certainly ready to delete and to detox fear. And I want to try this Blue Soul sound healing experience because Nurse Blue got the best music in the world. And music is phenomenal with helping to relieve fear and to bring harmony and to your vibration and to increase your peace. And I have some other modalities. You know, you may need a soul health renewal, but whatever it is, it all starts with you going to soulhealthcommunity.com, becoming a free member, and also going over to Clubhouse, download the link so you can go to our audio studio so you can come to one of the parties this week. Okay. All right, guys. So I gave you the 5 steps. If you enjoyed this, please let me know in the comments. What did you think about the 5D? Right? And then come on over to the club. Come hang out with us. We got a really cool group of people that has been coming to the parties now for over a year on Clubhouse. We're changing lives with great music. It's so much fun. But most importantly, we're getting rid of this damn toxin that we don't need. Okay? All right, guys. Love you so much. It's a wrap. Okay? Bye.